Hello, students. All right, it is time for us to do our math lesson for today. So we are going to be talking about subtraction. We've been talking about subtraction a lot. You guys are becoming really good masters of subtraction. You've been working really hard, so keep it up. We're going to learn how we can use subtraction to compare different groups, okay? So let's read, there's a little story up here that we're going to have to use some subtraction. We're going to have to use some things to compare, okay? So let's read this story. So it says, Sarah has 7 pennies. Dawn has 4 pennies. Who has more pennies? And how many more? Now, you might say, Miss Rabideau, it's so easy to tell who has more pennies because you guys know your numbers very well. But I want us to do this. I want us to use a chart and then use subtraction to solve this. So we're gonna draw a picture that goes along with this story. Okay, so I have Sarah and Dawn right here on this chart. How many pennies does Sarah have? What did the story say? 7 pennies. So we're gonna draw 7 pennies. We're just gonna draw circles. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. All right, and then Dawn has how many? 4 pennies. Then we'll draw 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we draw them, we want to make sure they're lined up 1 to 1, because then it will be easier to see who has more and less. All right, so just to make sure they're lined up 1 to 1, I'm just going to put a little line between them. And that's all we have to line up 1 to 1, just these ones. Okay, so looking at our chart, who has more pennies? Sarah, right? It's easy to see on our chart. And then the question is, how many more? Now, you can use the chart and you can count, how many extra Sarah has, or you can use subtraction. So if we were going to use subtraction for this, we would write how many Sarah has because she has more. So we would start with how many Sarah has. I'm going to fit this right over here. Sarah has 7. Then we would take away, get minus the minus. Then we would subtract how many Dawn has. How many does Dawn have? 4. So it would be 7 minus 4 equals what? 7 minus 4. Okay, so 7 take away 4 equals 3. So 7 minus 4 equals 3. That means that Sarah has 3 more pennies than Dawn. So you can use subtraction to compare groups, to compare different things. You can find how many more pennies Sarah has by doing the subtraction. Now, what if I change the question though? Instead of saying how many more pennies does Sarah have, what if I said, who has fewer pennies? Who has fewer pennies? Okay, so before we asked who has more, who has fewer? Dawn has fewer pennies. Now, instead of asking how many more pennies, I'm going to ask how many fewer pennies does Dawn have? Well, you actually already know the answer. 7 minus 4 also answers this question. Sarah has 3 more pennies than Dawn, and Dawn has 3 fewer pennies than Sarah. She has 3 more here, and it's 3 fewer for Dawn. Okay? So that makes sense, right? Okay, now, let's see. I'm going to have you look at your paper. So if you have your paper, your math paper in front of you, great. If you don't have it, please get it. It is page 133. I'm going to be doing this top problem. Okay, we're going to go over that one together. Okay, so just bring this out so you can see it and look on with me, and you can look on and we'll go over it together. All right, so if you need to go and get it, pause the video, go ahead and get it. If you already have it, we're going to move on right now. Okay, so it says subtract to find how many more and how many fewer. You can use subtraction to get both of those answers. It's the same answer. You can use your subtraction problem to get both of those answers. Okay, so it says Mia has 8 pennies. Carl has 6 pennies. Who has more pennies? And how many more? Okay, so what you would do, of course, first is you would fill out your chart. So I'm not going to make the full chart because that will just take too long. But I'm going to put Mia's name and Carl's name and put a line to divide it. So how many did it say Mia has? Mia has 8 pennies. So let's draw 8 for her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. And then how many does Carl have? Carl has 6 pennies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. All right. So remember they're matched up 1 to 1. Because if you don't match them up 1 to 1, it's hard to find the answer. All right. So Mia has 8, Carl has 6. Who has more? Mia has more. And what would be the subtraction problem that we can do to find the answer here? Well, we start off with the higher number. So that would be Mia. She has 8. So we would do 8 minus, don't forget minus the minus, of course. 8 minus, how many does Carl have? 6. 8 minus 6 equals what? 8 minus 6 equals 2. Very good. So how many more pennies does Mia have than Carl? 2. And how many fewer pennies does Carl have than Mia? Also 2. Remember that answers both of those questions. This subtraction problem answers both of those questions. Okay? This answers both questions. All right, very good. Okay, so on your worksheet, you are going to be doing this. You're going to have charts that kind of look like this. You're going to draw circles for the objects that they tell you. Like number 1 is talking about paper clips. So it's like Jan uses 6 paper clips, but instead of drawing a paper clip, you're just going to draw the circles. Okay, and then it tells you how many Bill uses, and then you have to do the subtraction problem to find how many fewer or how many more. Now they're going to try and trick you on this worksheet. Like on number 1, they say how many fewer. Then on number 2, they say how many more. Well, you just need to do this to find the answer for both of those questions. So even though they're going to try to trick you, you are smarter than this piece of paper. And you can remember, I have to do the subtraction problem to find if it's more or fewer. You only have to do that problem and you'll find both answers. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. There are this one you have to just trace to practice. 2, 3, 4, 5 of these problems. Number 3 is optional, and number 7 is optional. Okay, so those ones you can do, but you don't have to do them. If you want the extra practice, you can, but otherwise you don't have to do them. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to draw the circles to fill in the chart. Then you're going to choose the number that's higher, put it first, then the lower number, and then find out how much it equals. Okay, so you can use subtraction to compare two groups like this just said, because sometimes you'll be in situations where you won't be able to draw a chart like this, where you won't be able to put out all the circles and then you'll be able to see how many more or less there are. So this subtraction gives you the opportunity to just be able to say, oh, there's 8 and 6, 8 minus 6 equals 2. And then you can do it much quicker. But we're going to practice the drawing for now. And as you continue to learn more about subtraction and more about numbers, you'll be able to start doing these really quickly in your head without having to do a picture. Okay, so boys and girls, keep up the good work. Remember to do both sides, and so this challenge is optional and number 3 is optional. So keep working hard, boys and girls. You're doing a great job, and you've got this.